You guys look like... What do they look like, Jimmy?
Dorks. They look like a couple of dorks.
Get those birds!
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
What? Are you kidding? We got us a family here.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
You are listening to the In the Mouth of Dorkness podcast, the official podcast of the Alamo Drafthouse Winchester.
Welcome to another edition of the It Modcast podcast. Joining me is Brian Young.
God, I love being a turtle!
The Turtle Dork.
A sword by itself rules nothing. It only comes alive in skilled hands.
And also
That's
joining
dirty.
us is Lisa Gullickson,
Quick, suck it before the venom reaches my heart.
wife dork.
But it's not going to work, you know, because I'm a Capricorn and you're fucking nuts.
Oh, and also joining us is Brad Gullickson,
And for gosh sake, watch your language.
That's not going away anytime soon.
mouth dork.
Mita Dodie Walker.
And I'm your host, Darren Smith.
Warm, warmer, disco.
The Disco Dork. Lynchy, Kinchy, Kali, Molly, Dingo, Dingo. And welcome to another edition of the It Modcast podcast.
What was that quote from, Lisa?
It was from Hellboy.
Okay.
Brad and I rewatched it today. That film is a delight.
I've never seen it, but that quote sounds so familiar. Like I've
Because
seen it.
I'm like 80% positive I did that exact same quote
okay.
the week that Hellboy came out. But
Okay.
you're going to hear in my Week in Dork that I'm kind of bereft of quality pop culture as of late. And I just was not inspired this week to come up with a...
Don't throw
Quote from Hulk.
Hellboy 2019 as bereft of quality.
No, I'm saying that I had to go back to the well because this week
nothing
in
wrong with
cinema
that.
gave me nothing.
Yeah, because Hellboy 2019 is great,
It is.
Darren.
All right.
It's a beautiful film.
I need to watch that.
It's so good, Brian.
Where's your quote from, Brian?
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Oh, I was like, is that a King Arthur quote? Is he pulling
What
from the
have you
stone?
dropped over there?
My phone.
His standards.
No, it's so funny because I've been wanting to rewatch Crouching Tiger for a while because I put together like this playlist of like soundtracks and scores, and I was listening to my some of the tracks from the Yo-Yo Ma score from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and I was listening to that. I was like, man, this fucking movie is amazing. It just listening to the music.
I
and
haven't watched that film in so
me
long.
neither. I'm thinking about it for it's still awesome. It came out in 2000.
Yeah,
but
that fits. That
yeah,
fits. Oh,
yeah.
That's gotta be 2020 still awesome. Who put that out? Because 20th Century Fox has just started pulling all.
No,
of their
it's
movies.
Sony Classics.
Okay.
It's Sony Classics.
I was
But-
talking to Andy Geierson. Andy's like,
Yeah.
don't be scheduling any 20th Century Fox movies because they are being pulled.
Yeah, so I don't know. So I was listening to that Yo-Yo Ma music from Crouching Tiger, and I've been eager to rewatch it. And it's just that movie's just been on my mind lately. So I was like, let me pull a quote from there. Of course, I didn't say it in. Was it Cantonese? Is that
Mandarin.
It's in Mandarin.
Where's-
It has some Mandarin. It has some Cantonese.
Cantonese.
Okay, of course I didn't say it in that. I had to say it in the English.
There was some
version
controversy
here.
over which one it was, though, at the time. I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
American.
Which language?
Yeah.
It's certain characters. It depends on the character.
Okay, okay.
And they would determine their dialect. Anyway, your weekend dork, Brian, was amazing.
Goodness.
You
Yeah.
don't know where to start.
I don't know where to start because I talked about it last week, and sometimes I hate to rehash stuff.
Don't do it.
Well, I mean,
No, he's allowed to rehash stuff. I reused a quote today.
well, it's not necessarily rehashing. I talked about The Boys, and I did finish The Boys. And I'm not going to speak too long about it.
Don't spoil it. I haven't even started,
I
man.
know.
Our internet is broken.
I know. I'm sorry, guys. But it's great. It's really good. I hope you guys do respond to it because I think it's speaking to a lot as far as like what they're dealing with certain type of themes and issues. It's pretty damn cool.
So I didn't really talk about this last week, but my concern is with the comic book from Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson. I stopped reading that book because it was so... I'm not a prude, okay? We all know I'm not a prude. I loved Hellboy 2019, for example. A prude wouldn't like that movie.
Yeah.
But it was so crass and so in your face that it felt like I don't know, like a middle schooler wrote it.
It's interesting because I've never read the comic, never read the graphic novel, and I've heard that about it. And so I was a little hesitant going into the series to see, especially coming from Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, to see, okay, what approach are they going to take? Because I've heard so much that it is kind of crass, the graphic novel. But not reading the graphic novel, I will say that the series is very violent, but it doesn't feel crass. It feels like it is speaking to a lot of themes in a really kind of in a very smart way. So I think the show is really brilliantly done in the way that it is speaking to celebrity culture, to the Me Too movement, to a lot of different things. So I don't feel. I mean, I think some of it does kind of may have that crass tone, but it never overshadows some of the deeper themes that it's really trying to tackle.
Amazon has been, they've been good as far as per Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. Amazon was really open as far as how they interpret the source material and letting them have free reign over, their creative control. But they did have a line. So Amazon was keen on not pushing things too far. So from my understanding in the comics, there is a moment where Homelander is high above the city and he's doing something to himself over the city. Oh, wow. And so so Amazon was like, okay, all this other stuff that's in the show, which to Brian's point is there's a lot of graphic stuff and some of it can be argued as maybe gratuitous a little bit, but I think that's also, the show is speaking on a lot of that. Mm-hmm. But Amazon was like, okay, yeah, that other stuff you can get away with, but this right here, we have to draw a line somewhere. So that's not in the show. So,
I mean, to me, like a scene like that doesn't even bother me so much. It was just like, I felt like the point of the boys were those scenes rather there being any actual.
No, not with the show.
Oh no, yeah, definitely not with this show, not at all. Yeah, so
I'm not a prude. I promise, guys.
I'm a prude.
No, you're not.
But there's a lot to chew on this show, and there's a lot to talk about. So again, I mean, for the sake of not spoiling it for you guys because you haven't seen it,
but now Darren's ruined the fact that there's no jack off rain scene. Whoops. I'm not going to watch it now.
Oh man, but it's a show that I highly recommend, and it does leave you with a cliffhanger. And thankfully, they have greenlit a season 2, which I think they're filming now because they did release the first official image during production of season 2. So they're shooting that now. So hopefully we won't have to wait too long. Something else that I did watch, I just thought about this, and it's kind of weird. Okay,
what?
So I'm a huge fan of
basketball. You love basketball.
I do like basketball.
Yeah. Ninja Turtles.
Power Rangers. Yeah. But also 90210.
What?
Yeah, and
did I know this?
I want to say you guys did know this. I must have mentioned this back in the early 90s. I love 90210, Melrose Place, and even Models Inc.
Whoa,
those Aaron,
okay.
all those Aaron Spelling shows. I tuned in for all the time. So
Models Inc.
I know Models Inc. wasn't that great, but
Who are you?
But 90210 and Melrose Place was my shit. Anyway,
Darren, did you know this?
I've known Brian 20 years now.
Yeah, 19.
Same thing. Right, goddamn.
August. It was 2000.
I did not know this.
You didn't know about his Models Inc. love?
No.
Well, Models Inc. less so.
Still.
But because it came from Aaron Spelling and it was right after Melrose Place and 90210. Anyway.
We've never had broy 90210 conversations. Yo.
Did you watch 90210?
Fuck no.
Then that's why I never had the conversations.
Well, this is great. What did you watch, Brian?
All right.
Well, there's a revival.
Yeah, that's right. It's out now?
It came on Wednesday on
the first
Fox.
Episode?
Yeah, the first episode. So it was You know what? It brought back a lot of nostalgia. The interesting thing about this revival is that they are playing themselves. So basically, the show starts out with all the actors coming together to do like this panel at a convention.
The actors are playing.
The actor they're basically playing like an embellished kind of
like Shannon Doherty.
Yeah. So
playing Shannon Doherty.
basically Jenny Garth is playing herself.
What?
Tori Spelling.
How have I not heard about this?
Jason Priestley, Brian Austin Green, Ian Ziering. All of them are playing themselves, and then they come to this convention. It's basically like a reunion.
Really?
And so they're on this panel, and they're basically playing like an embellished kind of tabloid version of themselves. So, Tori Spelling.
That is bizarre.
It's very bizarre.
But didn't they have like a revival of 90210 like 5 years ago?
No.
Like a remake show?
No, they had like the college years, and they may have did something a little bit after that.
I think they like a couple years ago. I think they had like a remake series.
They may have,
Okay.
but this is interesting to kind of do it in this meta kind of way.
Huh.
And I don't know, it just kind of I really kind of took to it watching it.
Well, nostalgia aside, is it good?
It's a little hokey. It's a little corny.
You like corny? Too Fast, Too Furious.
I do like corny. But yeah, I mean, seeing like, Tori Spelling and Jenny Garth together, and and then at the end, they give a lot of great homages and respect to Luke Perry.
I was gonna say, how to handle that?
They did, because
Did they address his passing, or
in a kind of a roundabout way, because there's this one scene where they're all on the plane and Tori is talking about something, and she was like, we need to do this for everybody, and we need to do this for Shannon and for Luke, and then Jason Priestley's like, for Luke, and they all give a toast, and then the show actually ends with Jenny and Tori, because Tori Spelling has the idea, it's like, we need to do a revival of Beverly Hills 90210, because they're like, everybody's doing these reboots of shows.
So
It's
is
like,
it going to be like a play within a play?
kind of, sort of, yeah. And so they're at her house, and there's they're watching 90210, one of the older episodes, and so they're watching a scene with Luke Perry and Jason Priestley, and the episode ends with like a line by Luke Perry. So they give a lot of good respect in the line.
wait, Shannon Doherty? She's not alive?
No, she's alive.
She's alive.
Okay.
She was
in the show?
She was kind of in this episode a little bit. They're all executive producers on this revival, but she's going to be in some of the other episodes. But they're kind of playing into a lot of the infighting. Like Jason Priestley and Jenny Garth are like at odds, but then they end up sleeping together, and they're all dealing with like because it's almost like an embellished version. Like Brian Austin Green is almost like a play on his relationship with Megan Fox, because
is he married to her in the show?
No,
she's in it.
He's married to someone else who's like this big pop star. So at the convention, they asked Brian Austin Green a question about his wife, and he's like, well, I prefer not to talk about my wife and blah blah this and that. So
they're fanficking their real life.
Yeah, it is.
That's interesting.
It's weird, but
how often does Domino come up?
Not in that first episode.
I'm sure
at
there's
all.
a strong subtext throughout.
I mean, Domino is a prequel to this series.
pretty much. But it's weird. It's hokey, and I'm embarrassed to say that
Brian,
I like.
I am going to watch this, because guess what? I was way into 90210.
Really?
I didn't fuck with Melrose Place or Models Inc., but 90210 I was way into.
Yeah, and I mean, just to have the original cast together, like they didn't have like Tiffany Amber Thiessen when even though I liked her when she came into the show, but it's really just that core group,
the OGs,
the OGs there, and
so they really had like real life tension and discord between them.
Well, I don't know if they really did, but of course, some of that stuff was kind of in the past, and they're playing that up, and they're playing those versions.
I was gonna say, well, if so, like that's cool that they're able to put it aside and come back all to, because like when they do reunion shows, whether it be like a TV show or music groups, like a lot of times it's one member who's like, I can't, I can't deal with it.
Sharon Doherty.
But she's back. She's back.
I hope Kevin Smith directs her episodes.
That'd be dope.
Good segue. Actually, the next thing I want to talk about.
Ooh.
I mentioned this off air. I was working all weekend doing some editing, so a lot of times I'll just have my TV on in the background, so I'll put it on YouTube or something like that. And the Kevin Smith panel from San Diego Comic-Con popped up on my YouTube feed.
Nice.
And I was editing, and I looked over. I was like, "Oh shit, this is the panel that Brad and Lisa were in."
Could you see us? Were we there?
No, I couldn't see you guys. But I was like, I had to stop working, and my attention was just like on Kevin Smith talking. I heard the story that he said with Ben Affleck, how he was trying to send the text message,
So
and
good, right?
it just felt like,
Vuln.
oh man, it was so cool, man. And then like when Jason Mewes had to go to the bathroom and he ran
to the Hall H bathroom.
We're best friends now.
That's awesome.
It's crazy, but yeah, man, just hearing him talking, like you say, he's so attentive to everyone's question, and I just love listening to him speak.
Dude.
But yeah, like hearing him talk, like the one guy who said something about Hall H, and he went into this Hall H tangent that went back, and his daughter was like, "Dad, the guy didn't even ask the question yet." But man, it was so good. That was a really good panel. So I know I missed it being there, but watching it on the replay on YouTube, it was really, really cool.
After that, I don't think I'm going to miss a Kevin Smith Saturday panel again.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was such a fulfilling experience. Something that is something that feels like with 6,000 people feels so intimate. Like
it really does, man.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it gets me excited for reboot, even though I was kind of lukewarm with the trailer.
He's bringing the film to Arlington. Him and Jason Mewes are going to screen it at the Arlington Draft House.
It's right up the street from Fort Myers, where I work.
Ooh.
It's a great venue. I've seen a ton of comedy there, actually.
Okay.
We should think about going.
That would be so fun.
Definitely.
Mod field trip.
Yeah. But I loved hearing him talk about that story with Ben Affleck, man, and how he just reconnected and how he felt like he lost something and getting that friendship back from him.
We all can relate to that. Like we all have that friend going like, are you too cool for me now?
Yeah, and the fact that he didn't speak to him in like 8 years was why. And Kevin McCarthy was from this area. He said was the reason of how it kind of reignited that friendship, and it was a cool interview, man. It was cool to hear him talk.
I have a friend like that, but instead of becoming Batman, she had twins, and we haven't spoken since then.
Oh.
Yeah, Laura Noggenhauer.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, that was pretty much Weekend Dork, so to speak.
Low key.
Oh, I don't know. I feel embarrassed about my 90210.
No, man. I'm dead serious.
Why?
I was way into 90210.
I wasn't trying to make you feel. I was just shocked that this never came up before.
Brian, own your love.
I know.
I would have been into 90210, but guess what? I was 7. So
Jesus.
Stop it. Stop it.
I'm so young, you guys.
Cradle robber. Okay.
All right, wife dork.
I'm not a cradle robber. That would make me.
I'm a cradle
Yeah,
robber.
I'm a grave robber. Yeah. Is that what it is?
Yeah, you're a grave digger. Yeah,
digging up the bones.
Oh God.
I'm gonna wed those bones.
How was your Weekend Dork grave robber?
I gotta tell you, Darren, I got a little bit of the summer blues.
Summer's over, Lisa.
It feels that way.
Oh, it's dead.
I'm
it's
in
as
full
dead
on mourning.
as Dillinger.
Yeah.
First, I saw The Kitchen.
I'm sorry.
And we're going to do our review cast.
No spoilers on our emotional like that. Okay, so Darren and Lisa have spoiled. It's on us, Brian. We're going to bring the love.
Okay.
Then I saw 2 very meh Netflix stand-up specials.
Oh, no.
2 female comedians. I'm not going to put them on blast. They're not anybody I follow super closely, but I was curious, and their material was so overlappy in subject that they literally said the same joke in both of those specials. And the joke was it was about the Me Too movement, which I'm not surprised every woman is talking about because it is on all of our minds. But both of them said the joke of a guy going hey, what am I supposed to do? Not hug women at work anymore? And then the joke is, you are never supposed to hug women at work. Right? So, to me, I
that's
feel...
That's a joke?
That's the joke. Oh, and literally both women said that.
Are these 2 unrelated comedians? They don't...
Yeah, no. There's no... There's no reason there should be overlapping material in 2 stand-up specials that are released at the same time.
But and to your point, though, that conversation is so
in the zeitgeist.
Yes.
But if these comedians are doing their work and going to mics, and they would have heard 6 other women make that same joke, and they would cut it from their special.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So to me, these are 2 women who do a lot of television. I don't want to give. I mean, if you just look at what's dropped in the past week or so, you'll probably figure out who I'm talking about. But to me, I don't think that Netflix is focusing their dollars on finding amazing comedians. I think they're focusing their dollars on putting up names.
Well, and I would just say content in general. Like, they are like dumping a ton of money into stand-up.
But these are women who are going to demand a high dollar value, and I think that it could have been better if they did a little bit more work and they paid a few women the same amount that they paid these 2 women.
You don't want. You're saying there's a lot of non-name talent out there that probably could have filled that space.
I think that there are, to comedy nerds, a lot of named people that people at Netflix might not necessarily be the first to think of.
But they're not filling stadiums.
Right. So Jackie Cation, for example, does not have a Netflix special. That's a crime. Lori Kilmartin, she does not have a Netflix special. I think that's a crime. I've also heard them bitch about it on their podcast, on the Jackie and Lori show. But I feel like, to me, I'm not necessarily saying that that's lazy writing on the comedian's part, but clearly these are not comedians who have the room in their schedule to really work their material and come up with something really fresh. And if they had overlapping material and everything else was like hilarious and I was dying laughing, it wouldn't bother me. But to me personally, I found them very meh. And then Brad and I saw Loose. This is a movie we both missed at the Sundance Film Festival. It's an independent film.
Loose?
Loose.
Yeah.
Spelled Luce.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes.
Yes. So, standing in line at Sundance, this movie had a lot of buzz. A lot of positive buzz. And I don't want to take a big dump on it because this is a movie that takes big swings. Okay. It's trying to encompass a lot of huge and hard to tackle subjects. But a lot of the complaints I have are some of the same complaints I have for The Kitchen, where this is an important subject to talk about, and there are wonderful actors jumping on board.
Tim Roth, Naomi Watts,
Octavia Spencer. The star of this film is Kelvin Harrison Jr., We got to keep an eye on this guy. He is an amazing actor. And there were some really compelling, shining moments, particularly for the character of Luce, particularly for Kelvin Harrison. There is one scene where, just to give you like a little bit of an idea what this film is about, he is a black kid at Northern Virginia, super privileged Arlington High School. He
Nova Generals.
Yeah, they call it the Nova Generals. And he is really big in debate. And he's been invited to make some speeches at school because he's such an amazing public speaker and a real beacon at this high school. And so he gives the same speech in 2 contexts. And the contrast in those 2 scenes, so amazing.
And the idea behind the contrast of those 2 scenes is astonishing. And there are moments in this movie where you go like, damn, that is a great movie. What's all this other garbage around it?
Because there are actions, and we'll talk about this in The Kitchen, but there are actions that the characters take that just make 0 sense. And this is beyond like characters making mistakes.
Or it's beyond suspension of disbelief.
It's a scripting issue where I feel like the script doesn't rise to the subject matter or rise to the performances that were being given. So to me, it just sticks out like a sore thumb when a character makes a choice and goes like, well, I can't, from what I've seen in this film, support why they would possibly be making that choice.
Yeah, why would that character make that choice? And why would any human make that choice?
It was baffling.
And it's not like you can watch movies where characters make dumb decisions. Humans make dumb decisions all the time. I love movies about characters who cannot get out of the way of themselves. But this is literally like, well, that character in that moment would not do that.
Nobody with any sense would do that. And you're like the character is presented in this sort of way. And so when you see them do something just so boneheaded, it takes you out of the film.
Their decisions being made to further narrative choices, not character choices, and we'll talk about that in the kitchen.
Yeah, so that super bummed me out because it was a film I was looking forward to. And then today I went to the grocery store, and summertime in Virginia, the sweet corn is awesome. It's so good. You go to the grocery store, you shuck it yourself, feels so good. So I go to the grocery store, I pick up a big, beautiful ear of corn, and I start to pull the leaves off, and there's a little guy in there.
Oh man.
There was a little grub taking a little snooze in the corn, and I just had to set the corn down and go like, summer is over. Like, even the corn is ruined. I was like, it really brought me down. So like, when it was time to think about, okay, what's my week in Dork about? I'm like, what has given me life
and
this
you're
week?
talking about like, well, we've got several weeks left of the summer. What are the movies out next week? Oh, 47 Down sequel.
I just don't want to open a corn and find another grub. You know what I mean?
So
like,
you didn't bring
either
it
literally
home for Peachy.
No.
Damn it.
Peach eats mice. She doesn't. I don't feed my little petite snake grubs.
Oh, that's not like an exotic hors d'oeuvre.
Man, Lisa, I love how you brought that metaphor in. That is.
But what's giving me life this week? Brad talked about it last week. Comics right now are amazing. House of X, Powers of X, amazing. I just started. I haven't finished it yet. It will probably come up in a week in Dork. The Donny Cates comic. What is it called again?
Oh, God Country.
God Country. I'm three-quarters of the way through it. It's amazing. So that's great. But streaming-wise, I got to talk about the baking competition show, Sugar Rush. So when pop culture is giving you lemons, you gotta watch some competition baking shows. I don't know what to say. So Sugar Rush, just an idea of what it's about, is 3 rounds, cupcakes, confections, and cakes. But the most important ingredient is time. So the way Sugar Rush works is they give you like a theme. So some of the themes this season were like internet trends or science-based idea, or like they had an episode that was like all chocolate. And then, you come up with your cupcake and you bake your cupcake. And then, but you have a certain amount of time to make your cupcakes, and whatever time you don't use from that round gets banked. So you do your cupcake round, you bank some time, you do your confections round. So confections is just anything that's not a cupcake, I guess, and not a cake. And then that gets banked, and that time gets added to your cake time. So it's 3 hours plus whatever other time you banked. So really it's about time management, how quickly you can deal with, baking. It's can go, like, things go awry. How well do you deal with, having to rejigger something that's not working? And I love the judges. So the judges are Candace Nelson, she kicked off like maybe not this year, but last year Cupcakes were really having a moment. That was because of her and Sprinkles Cupcakes. So she's the head of the brain behind Sprinkles Cupcakes. And then there's Adriano Zumbo, who is an Australian baker. He's known for really outside of the box thinking. He actually did a season of an Australian baking show called Zumbo's Just Desserts, and it was all like Willy Wonka themed. And so that competition show was like nuts, because it was all about like using the flash freezer and creating gels, and can you make your dessert levitate? Can you use like gastronomy, whatever, molecular gastronomy, all of that crazy stuff. I don't know why that doesn't have a second season. I feel robbed. And then they'll have a third guest that's like a guest, like a guest judge. And so some of the shining moments this week is Carla Hall. I love Carla Hall. I fell in love with her because she was on, it was called like I'm blanking on it. The Master Bakers. That can't be it. But she was on, I literally just blanked.
It's fine.
So the another baking competition show. She's actually from DC.
Oh.
So I've actually seen her walking the streets of DC, but now she's showing up on competition shows. She's amazing. She's the Hootie Hoo lady.
Hootie Hoo.
Cooking dorks know what I'm talking about. And then there's been Jacques Torres, who's a chocolatier. He's also a judge on Nailed It. Colin Hanks was on last season.
Oh, I know him.
So yeah. So Sugar Rush is on its second season. I binged it this week. They've definitely, like, since last season, kind of streamlined the format. So you're not just watching the judges explain what each of the challenges are. They start right in. You know, the host, Hunter March, he does the intro, and the competitors are already baking. And so the show really takes off at a good pace, which is an improvement. Also, the host, Hunter March, he's had a bit of a glow up from last season. Last season, he was kind of baby-faced. He seemed a little unsure of himself. Now he has a very modern beard. Oh. And I feel like the beard has given him a lot of confidence. I think also the influence of Nailed It. He's kind of gotten the freedom to be a little bit more silly with the competitors, which I really enjoy. And this is a show for professional bakers, but I really want to do it. I think that I could kill this show. So if anybody wants to be my co-baker, because it takes two, they're teams of two, so you can come with me and we can demolish this show.
Are you going to do it, Brad?
No.
What?
I do think there are some shenanigans with this show, though, because they do it under the conceit that these bakers are, like, coming up with their ideas on the spot. They go like, okay, now for your confection round, it has to be science themed, and the theme is geology. And then they come up with this, like, insane thing where they're, like, building sedentary rocks out of these crazy ingredients, and they always have the weird ingredients on hand. So to me, it's like, how did you anticipate that this particular person would need, I don't know, I can't think of an example, but like cornflakes. Like, do you just have cornflakes on hand? That's not a good example, because I feel like they would. But sometimes they come up with these, like, to me, I feel like these bakers have to have been given the themes and then come up with their recipes and practice them at home. Because we don't see, like, it's not like the gold standard. It's not like British Bake Off, where they're straightforward going like, here, like, these are the two rounds that the bakers have practiced at home, and then they have one round that they have to do on the fly. Or like Nailed It, where you see them go to the cabinet and go like, okay, these are what I have. These people are going like, okay, I'm going to need 10 things of chocolate, some peanut butter, and a bale of hay. And there's just like a bale of hay on hand. That's a bad example because nobody cooked a bale of hay.
But is it similar to like Chopped, where you have like the secret ingredients?
No, because Chopped, I believe Chopped is on the fly because they're opening that basket, and then you also see them going to the ingredients and looking around to see what they have. Okay. Right? So they're at these like isolated stations. We don't see anybody wandering and staring at the ingredients for inspiration. They go so far as to pull out a notebook, draw the most rudimentary picture of maybe what they're going to do, and the other person's like, I know exactly what you're I know exactly what you're talking about, and I'm gonna use cherries. Like, to me, there's a veil of artifice that I think is not necessary. I think you can say, these bakers, they have been practicing for speed. They've got all of their ingredients. Let's go. Yeah. Like, the times you see them improvising is when they go like, like, all of the bananas are green and we needed ripe bananas. And then they have to, like, Brian is yawning. I know I'm the bake dork. I'm the only person who gives a shit on a Sunday about Sugar Rush. But what I'm saying is pop culture has failed me this week. And, like, so I've just been doing, like, the mind-numbing thing of, like, what... And I didn't even give it the dignity of watching it on the TV. I've been watching Sugar Rush on my phone. No! How depressing is that?
Don't tell Christopher Nolan.
Ugh.
Oh Lord.
So there we are.
I'm sorry.
It's. I'll be fine.
In the fall.
I'll be fine. But I mean, it's rough times.
It is. I feel you. I share similar sentiments. But before that, my sentiments are shared. Mouth Dork. Did you have a comparatively better weekend, Dork?
I always have a good weekend, Dork. I agree. I saw the same mediocre movies that Lisa did. Plus, I also saw Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which is where my quote came from.
Yes.
A lot to like about that movie.
Yes.
You know, it's a young adult spook story set 1968. Yeah, because it's the election night of Nixon.
Yep.
In 1968. I like the setting. I like the general look of the film. It's produced by Guillermo del Toro. It's directed by the guy who did The Autopsy of Jane Doe, Andre Ovidal. Oh, I should have looked that up. And you know, so I like the cast and some of the creatures I really enjoyed. The Jangly Man, where my quote comes from. I really liked that contortionist that is in that practical suit. Very cool. The Red Room creature that absorbs that one guy.
That was the most disturbing to me.
Very upsetting.
Yeah.
But honestly, like I got done with that film and I was like, yeah, it's okay. It didn't quite reach a level of kitty terror that I would have liked it to, I guess. You think about stuff like, you know, from our time, it would be, you know, the Monster Squad. That's like my go-to kitty horror film.
Yeah.
Or even like Leica Studios and Kubo and the Two Strings, or better yet, Paranorman.
Yeah.
Paranorman actually a lot in common with Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Yeah.
You know, it's that typical kind of ghost story where somebody has been victimized, they've died as due to a crime, an injustice, and they are haunting the world as a result of that injustice. And so you have to like make amends with that spirit to free it from this, you know, this terror. And I guess just like narratively, I was just like, okay, and a lot of jump scares.
Yeah.
A lot of jump scares, which is not really my bag. But I guess I came away with it and I was like, that's okay. It's okay. A lot that I liked. Lana Del Rey's cover of Season of the Witch that plays over the end credits is probably the best thing about the movie.
She is everything. I love that lady.
Oh my gosh.
It's one of the best covers I've heard in recent memory. So
Favorite.
check that cover out.
obsessed
But like,
with Lana.
I came away kind of like I did from Loose in the Kitchen, where you're just like,
Yeah.
So most of my cinematic enjoyment has been coming from rewatches. I rewatched Avengers Endgame. This movie's still great, FYI. I rewatched The Phantom with Lisa last night, the Billy Zane film.
I
love
enjoyed
that movie.
I enjoyed it.
Did you like it? You liked it?
It may because I saw it this week, but I had a great time.
Billy Zane is a delight. He's charming.
He is dreamy.
He's so earnest.
Those eyebrows.
His eyebrows, that wig he's got on, that purple outfit, so cool. Devil, his dog. I rewatched Hellboy. You know, that movie was, you know, trashed by critics and the Disco Dork. But, you know, tonally, it has nothing to do with the comic books. It doesn't feel or look like anything you'll find in the books. But it is this wild tour through mythology, and it just keeps throwing one monster after the other at you, and then layers them with F-bombs and CG blood, and I'm all about it. I loved it. I loved it. As a fan of, like, trashy Roger Corman movies, I think it really plays well with Barbarian Queen and Deathstalker and things like that. If you're looking for Guillermo del Toro's Hellboy or Mike Mignola's Hellboy, you're not going to find it there. I certainly don't think it's for everybody, but I can't wait going like, yeah, this is in my top 10, guys. Get ready, the dorkies. Yeah. It's going to be there. Unless this fall really turns this year around, we're going to be talking about Hellboy and the Dorkies.
It's been a lackluster year.
And I rewatched Missing Link, speaking of Leica Studios, also from director Chris Butler, who made Paranorman. Love that movie. I liked it even more on the third go-around with it. And what else did I rewatch? Avengers. Did I talk about? I think it was Sunday. I watched Hobo with a Shotgun, the Rutger Hauer movie. I may have mentioned that last weekend. That movie's also great. Much trashier and more despicable of a film. But if you're into that kind of thing, it delivers.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much been my week in Dork.
No comics.
I mean, Jonathan Hickman, as Lisa mentioned, is continuing his House of X Powers of 10 series.
And I hear Disco Dork is getting in on it, so that's exciting.
It's nuts.
I mean, the second issue of House of X came out. It is a major retcon, and I think it is a retcon that is truly fascinating. But is it a retcon, or is it the development of another character manipulating another person's mutation? I think, like I said last week, where you have just barely scratched the surface on what Hickman is doing with House of X and Powers of 10, and I am still super, super excited.
There's onions. There's just layers. You just keep peeling back shit. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and Boyd, if you like charts...
Oh man!
There's
And
a
you
great
don't,
one.
and you straight up don't know what to believe as you're reading it.
Yeah, so it's exciting. It's exciting to read. Moira McTaggart, a character I've never really cared about before, paid very little attention to, is now suddenly the most important character in all of X-Men universe.
Yep.
So cool.
Very cool.
Yep. That's it? That's all you got?
Yep, that's it.
You don't want to talk a little bit more with Sugar Rush?
No.
Okay. Just checking.
I didn't watch any Sugar Rush.
He didn't, because I was watching it on my phone. We discussed it.
Sad. I hope your internet gets back up and running.
Yeah,
so
me
you
too.
can stream properly.
Verizon, you son of a bitch.
For my weekend dork on Thursday. Well, so today I saw, in preparation for our review cast, I also saw The Kitchen. I also saw Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I kind of share your sentiments about that, Brad. I could see, like if Sia or like a 10, between the ages of like 10 and 13, them seeing this movie kind of maybe being creeped out.
And that's who it's made for.
Right. And so, because I'm not familiar with the books, the source material, so I don't know how it compares to that. But if there are young tween and a little younger fans of those books, and even children who haven't read the books or kids who haven't read the books, and they're into kind of horror, I feel like this would fit the bill. I'm so confused when this movie came on, because it takes place around, the opening takes place around, it's on Halloween, if I'm not mistaken. Right. I just can't understand like why the studios release movies, horror movies like this, like in August or any other time of the year other than like October, because this I mean, outside of that one scene that takes place in Halloween, just the movie in general,
it's a fall film.
Right, it would fare very well like in the month of October.
I'll tell you why. It Chapter 2 comes out on September 6th, and it's going to destroy the box office for that kind of thing for
that's right.
for a little while.
That's right. I heard the trailer to that today when I was in the theater.
You didn't watch it?
Yeah, I was sold on like the first one. And that shit sounds epic. It's just a score.
2 hours and 45 minutes.
I'm there for all of it. Like I want it. I'm excited. But yeah, so Scary Stories to Tell in Dark. It was good. Well, I enjoyed it. I had the same issues that you had with it. But then I also saw this past Thursday, I took Sia to see Dora and the Lost. Is it the Dora and the Lost City of Gold? Sia used to watch Dora a lot when she was younger. I want to say when she was around 4, 5, and 6, she was really heavy into Dora. And I had only seen like a few episodes of it. Familiar with the character of Swiper the fox who steals always stealing shit. Familiar with Dora's cousin Diego. Familiar with Boots, her little pet monkey. I'm familiar with like Backpack, which is her backpack that talks, and so when she puts things in it or she takes things out of it, Backpack will describe what these things are. So it's a show that the cartoon breaks the fourth wall. You know, she's talking to you because it's an educational show when she's exploring and finding things.
It's like Blue's Clues, but
she's, you know, when she speaks Spanish, like she'll say a word and then she'll say, "You say it," and she'll look into the camera and say, "You say it." So I'm familiar with, you know, different elements like that of the show. So I'll just start by saying this movie was better than it had any right to be, like especially for an adaptation of a cartoon, an educational cartoon. I don't know that I had any expectations, but I can say I was not expecting them to adapt the cartoon in the way that they did. So the movie opens up, and she's probably the age that she is in the cartoon. She's like really young, and her and Diego are, they're on an adventure, and this is a live action. So they're on an adventure in the woods, and they're singing the Dora theme song, and you got Swiper, the CGI cartoony fox, like running alongside, and they go, "Huh, this is not what I expected as far as like how they're going to present this." Turns out like she's fantasizing. She's actually sitting in a cardboard box Jeep in the Amazon. Her parents, played by Michael Pena, who is great, and Eva Longoria. They're the mother and father, Dora's mother and father. So they're professors and also explorers, and they're in the Amazon looking for this lost city. And Dora has been raised in there with them. She'll basically home tutored by these two professors. And so she is at home in the jungle. So anyway, she fantasizes. She's in the cardboard Jeep. They say, "All right, Dora, come on. We got to go take Diego, drop him off at the airport because he's going back to the States to go to school there and live with his parents or whatever." So the beginning of the movie is her and Diego, saying goodbye to one another. They're very close. They grew up together practically, gone on many adventures. And so he leaves, and time passes, and we see her grow up to be the age of, she's like a high schooler now, and she's played by Isabella Warner. So she was in Transformers: The Last Night, and she was in something.
Sicario.
Sicario, that's right. Yeah. That's right. And speaking of Sicario, the other Sicario connection is Benicio del Toro voices Swiper, which I did not realize until the end credits. But anyway, so the story is now she's like a school teenager, and her parents all these years have been searching for this particular lost city. They found it, but before they go on this expedition, because it's going to be dangerous, they send Dora to the States to live with her aunt and uncle, who are Diego's parents. So it's a fish out of water story for Dora, because she's at home in the jungle with all these wild creatures and animals. She can navigate it like she's like Indiana Jones. Like she's very at home. But when she comes to the indigenous people of California and learning to submerge herself in this foreign culture and in these peoples and these customs that she's just not aware of, it plays like a fish out of water story. She meets new friends at the school. One is like the nerdy outcast. The other is the president. She's the super smart president of the book club volleyball team and all this other stuff, like the overachiever who, when she encounters Dora, who is almost a genius herself, she's like, "Who are you, and why are you so smart, and what are you doing here? I'm the smart one in the school." So they're at odds initially, and obviously, and then she meets with Diego. So what happens is she spends a little bit of time with this fish out of water story. While on this field trip, they end up getting kidnapped because someone recognizes Dora and knows that her parents are searching for that city, so they kidnap her. They end up back in the Amazon jungle. Now the high school students are the fishes out of water, and Dora's back in her element. So she's trying to rescue her parents and also get her high school friends back home safe. That's basically the bones of the story, right? So firstly, they really lean into the cartoon. So in the opening, when they're at the dinner table in the Amazon, Dora's talking, and she's talking to her parents, and she says something in Spanish. Then she looks at the camera and says, "Can you say it?" And she repeats the word, and then the camera cuts to Michael Pena. He's looking over his shoulder like, "Who the fuck are you talking to?" So like, she's breaking the fourth wall. He recognizes her talking to someone, but off camera, like who? And so then so they kind of play with that a little bit. I'm going to spoil this because I don't know how many of you probably will ever see this movie, but this is why I gave this movie 3.5 stars, really for this sequence alone. I mean, there's other good stuff in it. So they're in the Amazon jungle. They're trying to get to this city. The bad people have stolen the map so it's a race against time. They want to get to the city before the bad people get there. So they have to cut through this large field with these unearthly large, beautiful flowers that if you touch them, they'll open up and spores will come out and something bad will happen. So they're sneaking their way through. They're not touching anything. There's this guy that's along with them. He rescued them when they were kidnapped. He says, "I know your parents. I'm a friend of your dad's. I work with him. I'm here to get you out of here. Let's go." So he's on the journey with them. So they're snaking their way through, and he's kind of bumbling. He's the one that's in the trailer, like saying, the jungle's dangerous. You got to watch where you're going. And he turns around, walks into the cobwebs, and start losing his shit. So anyway, they get to the very end of the flower maze thing, and he was like, yes, we did it. He raises his hands in triumph, and he touches the flower, and the flower opens up. The spores come out, right? And so it's Dora, that guy, and Diego. So they inhale all these spores, and all of a sudden, Dora's looking at Diego, and there were like several kids in the audience. So it was half-packed auditorium for a Thursday. So they were the appropriate age. The group was in there, right? So anyway, Dora's looking at Diego. They're fucking inhaling this shit, and all of a sudden, Diego's head turns into like the cartoon Diego, right? And Dora's like, "Oh my God, Diego!" And Diego's like, "What? What's going on?" But it's the cartoon head, like big eyes, looking like, "Well, what's going on?" And all of a sudden, he sees her. She's turned into the cartoon. So basically, everything turns to the animated Dora, right? And the kids and the audience are like, "Oh, it's our big screen Dora," and they're like, "Yay!" I'm losing my shit because I'm like, these kids are high as right now. He's tripping balls, and that shit was hilarious. So they played it. It plays two ways. Like on one hand, if you're thinking about it, like they're tripping balls right now. They're super high, so much so that in the actual real world of the movie, in the TV show, she has a backpack that has a face on it and eyes, and it talks. And every time she takes a tool or something out of it, or when they put their tools in it to go on the journey, it'll explain like what's in the backpack and what it is, and it'll talk to the camera and stuff like that. But that doesn't happen in the movie. Well, when she's tripping balls, and she has a map too, and the map is named Map, and the map sings a song, and it says, "All right, this is where we're going to go today." So anyway, she starts tripping balls. She goes, "Oh my God, look, it's Map," and it's the cartoon version of Map, and he's like, "Yeah." And then and backpack, and then backpack has the eyes and the mouth, and and he's like, "Yeah," and I have and my mouth, my zipper is a mouth, and so the guy that's with them, he starts tripping balls, and he was like, "Yes, I'm free, and I don't need these clothes." He takes his fucking clothes off and runs into the woods like stark naked, and then they start singing the Dora songs as they're like traversing the jungle, and there's this large chasm that they have to cross, and because she's animated now, like, of course she can like get across this. So anyway, I just thought it came out of nowhere, that sequence. But
how long is that sequence?
Probably like a minute or 2 minutes. Not very long. It doesn't outstay its welcome. And so they end up coming down. The other high school kids come and find them, which they're animated for a second. But anyway, what I'll say about it is what I noticed about the similar to Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, for its target audience, they're gonna love that film. It's a really good movie. But one thing I found charming about it is you can tell like the director or maybe the writers are fans of and are trying to channel a lot of the essence of Indiana Jones, because firstly as Dora, I mean she's very capable, unrealistically so to speak. Like she can traverse the jungle terrain, she can fall down pretty steep chasms and just be okay and shrug it off. But she's very smart. She knows everything about nature and the environment, and the biggest thing though is when this other group is attempting to find this lost city, because it has legend says that it has more gold there than the rest of the world combined. So obviously they want it for the riches. Whereas Dora, she exclaims to the ancient people there who were about to kill him for trespassing that, we're not here for the gold. We're not with them. We're just here to learn. We're just here for the knowledge and the education. And so I like that about the film, in that it has a grand sense of adventure. Where she's traveling from one location to the other in like a crate in the bottom of an airplane, a cargo hold. She gets there, and then there's these chase sequences through the jungle, and she's got to climb. They're inside of a temple. There's traps and stuff like that, a la Indiana Jones. And there's thinking puzzles, which call back to like Lara Croft, which is also inspired by Indiana Jones. But just her good nature and her sense of the search for more knowledge and just to learn about the unknown that is on this earth. And so I really found that pretty cool about that character, especially for a young audience to to get. And so, and you know, Dora, played by Isabella Morna, is a brown colored young lady, a character. So for girls that look like her to see someone in such a big budget movie portrayed in such a positive way, and good natured and like a genuinely good human being. She's unnatural. She gets to high school in Los Angeles in California, and she's, hi, my name is Dora. Hi, my name is Dora. You know, because she's never had to deal with people socially in a social context in this way, but you know, she just brings a positive, upbeat nature. She's into dance and no one's dancing, and she gets out there and she starts dancing funny. She embarrasses Diego, and C is kind of peeking behind her hands because she's embarrassed for her. And I was like, what's wrong? And she goes, everybody's gonna laugh at her. And I go, well, Dora knows that, but she doesn't care what other people thinks. She's gonna go out. That's why she's dancing like that, and nobody else isn't. She doesn't care what other people thinks. And then like the next scene, like she says that Diego goes, you think they're laughing? Don't you know that they're laughing at you? And Dora goes, I know, but I just have to be myself. And I nudged C, and I was like, see, like you have to, don't worry about what other people think. Just be yourself. So I like that you know, there are things like that in this film. So I don't know. I came out of that movie enjoying it way more than I expected going in. I thought I was just gonna have to go there and just sit through it and enjoy Sia watching it, but I found myself engaged and laughing a lot. Michael Pena, he stole every scene he was in. So, yeah, that's it for my week in Dork.
I cannot wait until the Blue's Clues film. Because what's that shit gonna be about?
I'd be there
Clues?
for it.
Just a man at home talking to his furniture.
That could work.
It's called Brad's Life.
No, when we come back from the break, we are going to do our review cast this week for what is probably going to be in our top 5 when we do our fistful of summer of 2019. Our top 5. This is probably going to be on a lot of people's lists. I'll just put a spoiler out there right now. Look at Brian; he's getting me like, don't tell it. You know, they probably already knew. But when we come back, we're going to review The Kitchen. So stay tuned after the break. We'll be back.
Hey, this is Liz from People I Think Are Cool, a bi-weekly podcast where I interview my favorite creatives from across the globe. If you're looking for a dose of creative inspiration, then go to peopleithinkarecool.com or subscribe to People I Think Are Cool on iTunes and Stitcher.
You like film, from cult to classic, from blockbuster to B-movies. And there just isn't that one place with all the fan fervor and passion that's covering the kind of mad, diverse brilliance that you love.
Well, that's where you're wrong.
AfterMovieDiner.com is that fan-built movie nirvana just for you, featuring the sweet, sweet writings of the wife dork herself. AfterMovieDiner.com. Go there. Be the best you can be.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. This week's review cast is for The Kitchen, the live-action adaptation of DC Vertigo Comics' comic of the same name, The Kitchen.
How many of you were like, it's in Hell's Kitchen. Boy, this film would really do with some Daredevil.
Ooh.
That would have been cool.
But he never showed up.
This film could have used a lot.
Unfortunately, it's DC, so no crossovers.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
What's DC's version of Daredevil? Who do they have?
The DC version of Daredevil.
Yeah.
Who of the DC people are also lawyers and also blind?
I can't.
With heightened other senses.
I've drawn a total blank. I can't
Really?
even think of who the DC version of Daredevil would be. Listeners, tweet at us.
Yeah.
Nightwing.
Nightwing can see.
Here's the thing: is like my DC knowledge is very limited.
Really?
Yeah. You know, there's so many characters over there, and I know, like, okay, the Justice League guys, the Teen Titans guys. I like Beast Boy. You know that guy, but like.
Is it?
I want more heroes that are disenchanted, sometimes evil Catholic people.
Yeah.
What was the team that was in Teen Titans Go?
Young Justice?
No. The other team they had made the joke of.
Challengers of the Unknown?
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah, you know them.
I like them. I'm a big fan of them. They're not Daredevil. There's no Daredevil on the Challengers of the Unknown team.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I like the motion picture.
So sad. Unfortunately, there were no superheroes in The Kitchen, but that's okay, as it was the film stars Melissa McCarthy, Elizabeth Moss, and also Tiffany Haddish. And
James Badge-Dale.
Badge-Dale, Domhnall Gleeson.
Yeah, Domhnall Gleeson, yeah.
And
great cast.
Common and who else? Am I missing some people?
Yeah, you're missing people, but
Probably.
that's okay.
Sorry. Anyway, without further ado, we're going to get into our good, the bad, the ugly. Because I know the people are excited to hear our thoughts. They want to know, should they invest time and money into this? I'm not going to spoil that. I want to so bad. Anyway.
Oh, I spoiled it.
What?
With my sound. Did you hear my sound? It was.
You spoiled it in the week in Dork.
I did.
Both you and Darren.
Whoops.
We don't know how Brian feels, though.
We're going to find out right now because he's going to hit us off with the good. And his list is long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 13 good points about the film. Go.
No, not really. But I mean, maybe I liked it a little bit better only because I saw it after I saw the Rotten Tomatoes scores, after I saw your reaction to it, and I was like, okay, let me temper my expectations going in. I was excited for this film earlier in the year when I heard about it because it was the idea of having comic actors like Tiffany Haddish and Melissa McCarthy kind of do something that was a little more dramatic. So that alone right there intrigued me about the film overall, to see that. So when the trailer came out, definitely it didn't wow me. It didn't have any wow factor when I saw the trailer. So I was like, okay, may not be exactly what I'm expecting, but, still kind of intrigued to see what they're going to bring. And that was really the thing I was looking forward to, was really the performances. I have to say, for my good, I would point to the performances in the piece. I mean, we'll get into the bad and some of the things that really didn't work in the movie, which is quite a lot. But for me personally, going into it, knowing, kind of the reception that it got, the performances did kind of take it over that bar for me to at least find some type of enjoyment.
What is the opposite of a hot seat? Because that's what Brian is sitting in right now, talking about the kitchen, getting the first swing at the good. So, these performances are legit, hands down, amazing. I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, and really, and that was the thing that really just kind of, like I said, that really kind of sold me on the movie overall. I thought Melissa McCarthy was great, especially towards the second half and the latter part of the film, to really kind of see her performance, especially, when their husbands get out of jail and how she's going to deal with, possibly her husband, Jimmy, played by Brian Darcy James. Are they going to try to reclaim some of the power in the neighborhood, with the mafia and stuff like that? There's a lot of things that we'll get into the bad. But again, I really liked Melissa McCarthy and what she brought to this role.
I hope this brings to her more dramatic roles. Because me, as a Gilmore Girls fan, and seeing her as Suki St. James, I've seen her in comedic situations. Yeah. I've seen her in dramatic situations. Granted, Suki St. James is a way more whimsical character than Mrs. O'Brien.
In the past, she did that St. Vincent.
And only Can You Ever Forgive Me?
Yeah, which Spy, very dramatic.
Very dramatic performance.
But I think that comedians get subtlety in a way that I feel like a dramatic actor might take for granted.
I don't know. I think we make a big deal out of comedians who we recognize as funny people, and so that when they do dramatic work, we're shocked by it. But they're actors like anybody else.
Absolutely.
I know. I just feel like she can take the temperature of a character. I think that she. I
think Melissa McCarthy's a great actor.
Yeah,
I think she's so wonderful.
Yeah, me too.
And
definitely.
she's great in this, to Brian's point and to your point.
Yeah. And Tiffany Haddish, even though I do have some issues with some of the choices that she made in the film, but I definitely wanted to see what she could do in a more dramatic film. Again, sometimes the audience, especially when you're talking about general audiences, when
Did your theater have an audience?
There was about 8 people.
Okay.
We probably had about a dozen. We had a dozen people in there.
There was about 8 to 10 people in the audience. But it's interesting though, because it's interesting when you have actors who are known, when you look at their filmography and they're known for comedies and comedic roles, how a general audience will go into a movie like that when it's more of a dramatic performance, but they they want to go in there for the comedy. So I found a lot of people laughing at things that weren't really funny.
We did not have that in our theater.
Yeah, like when, Tiffany Haddish or Melissa McCarthy, like it wouldn't even be something that was comedic, but because of their persona and their filmography, like sometimes, and I notice this about general audiences when they go in to see movies, because they'll say like, oh, Tiffany Haddish is in this new movie, let me go check it out. Not really know, and a lot of people go into movies like that, not really knowing what the movie is, and they want to laugh or expecting to laugh. So like she'll do something or say something and they'll just start laughing. But in the context of the scene, it's not supposed to come off that way. And I notice that a lot when I see people who aren't, movie people like us go to see certain movies because they want to go see a particular actor or actress in a role. So I don't know. I
Your
found
crowd
that
had the giggles.
A little bit. Not to the point that they were like, belly laughing, but you could tell that they were looking for that, in the movie. So I don't know. I thought that was interesting, and sometimes that could be a little off-putting because I would love for audiences to really know what they're going to see, but you just asking for too much. But yeah, I would say for the most part that was mostly my good was really the performances.
So you're gonna save the 12 other ones for later?
Pretty much.
All right.
I want to imagine the old married couple, maybe not old, but they've gotten a babysitter for their 3 kids at home, and they're like, we're about to see a laugh riot. Imagine it. Tiffany Haddish, Melissa McCarthy in the kitchen. What kind of cooking hijinks are they going to get into in this film?
Elizabeth Moss from The Handmaid's Tale.
Such a
what
hoot.
hijinks.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, but people do that.
People definitely.
Oh,
do.
yeah.
People, I mean, I've seen it where people will go to the box office and they will get a synopsis of the movie.
Our classic story of that is A Ghost Story. Oh, let's go see this new ghost film, A Ghost Story.
Yeah.
Good luck with that,
The
guy.
movie I always think of is when what year did A Bird on the Wire come out?
The Mel Gibson film? 1991, 1992.
Okay, so this would put me in first grade, which would put my best friend Tina in second grade.
You went and saw A Bird on the Wire?
No, but Tina, my Muslim best friend from next door, went with her dad to see Bird on the Wire, and they walked out because they were like, Bird on a Wire. Birds are animals. Kids love animals. Let's take the fam to
Bird
see
on a
Bird
Wire
on a
has
Wire.
2 great hitman performances from David Carradine and Bill Duke.
This is not the film you think you're going to see.
I remember, I think it was 2003. It was when Pirates of the Caribbean was out, and I remember I was at the box office, and there was this guy. And this is when they had like the piece of paper and and they would read the synopsis. And
they'd hand you like a little booklet.
Yeah, and the guy, he was with his friend, and he was reading it, and he was like, he's like, yeah, let's go see this Pirates of the Caribbean. It's got pirates and swashbuckling, and Johnny Depp's in it. It's like, yeah, let's go see that. And I was just
I remember,
as
a little kid, it's just like, well, it's Saturday. Let's go to the movies. Lay out that newspaper. And then you just judged on the picture.
Yeah.
You go, that picture looks hilarious.
The good old days.
Yeah, but that's how
We all go to the theater with ink on our fingies.
That's how 80% of Americans watch movies.
They go, it's 4:00.
What's your good, Lisa?
So we don't stretch this episode out. Just list the first 10. Don't do your whole 20.
Well, 1 through 9 is just how boss Tiffany Haddish looks in a late 70s wrap dress.
She's great, yeah. She looks
amazing. Also, the glow up on Melissa McCarthy. This is you can tell I just learned the term glow up because I really want to use it.
Yeah.
Melissa McCarthy, total babe by the end. What a great dynamic cast of women. Not a size 2 in the bunch. And I'm saying that in a good way.
Tiffany Haddish ain't a size 2?
Nah.
No.
I don't know what a size 2 is. Is that your size?
No. Yes. No, it's not. Domhnall Gleeson, how sweet was he as a murderer?
Yeah.
I think in terms of just straight up killing heartthrobs, I thought he was adorable.
Yeah.
To me, I was like, am I watching a Key and Peele sketch? Like, where is the punchline? Like, when they look at that script, do they go like, well,
Wait, you thought the script was good?
I'm not delivering
This
these
is on your
lines.
good, Lisa. This is
Oh
your
shit,
good.
I forgot. Did I already mention the wrap dress?
All right, you can go through from your 11 through 20.
Okay, my 11 through 20.
The opening sequence. I like how they use the 70s style fonts and.
Oh yeah,
and
that
intros.
was fun. We liked those fonts.
And yeah,
Brian, you had your turn.
I like that.
Did you?
I appreciate the assist because he can see I'm floundering.
Don't pull a muscle. Don't pull a muscle reaching.
No. I mean, again, the soundtrack, some of the needle drops. I liked a lot of that stuff.
I love late 70s music.
Yeah.
I like Friends. I've got nothing. I love Elizabeth Moss.
Right.
I think in terms of a character arc, she had one. I enjoyed. Okay, I've got my good. I just thought of it. There was an ongoing theme about how women, when they move through the world, lack a sense of security. And I feel like that's something that is really hard for a man to identify with because when we, like, for women like myself, cisgendered, straight women, when we're going on a date, maybe a first date, a second date with a man, like we have to go like, oh, he's really cute. I met him one time. I'm going to look cute. And I have to make sure that if I get in a car with him, he doesn't murder me with his hands. Like there's always like, or, you know, when you're leaving a club, not only do you have to remember, hey, you know, where did I park? Do I have to refill the meter? Oh, and I have to carry my keys in a certain way because if somebody comes up behind me, I'm going to have to stab him in his eyes. Like when you're a woman and you're moving through the world, there is this sense of danger because you are small. Like in most cases, you are smaller than, you are weaker than, a little less than half of the population. And so with these women who are moving through this world of thugs, they kind of, they represent that lack of, okay, I'm moving through the world and I am in more danger than most. And particularly in the character of Elizabeth Moss, she has been growing up with, like her entire adult womanhood has been one of domestic violence. And how her realizing, okay, with a gun, with a knife, now I am a force to be reckoned with. Now I have power. And that arc of how she finds herself through overpowering men and seeing, oh, I can take one down and dismantle him. Well, I'm not saying that that's what every woman needs, but I am saying that every woman identifies with the idea of walking down the street and looking over your shoulder. That's it. That was my whole thought.
Okay.
But I also think when you look at it from the aspect of how the women also handle certain situations as opposed to the men, when they were talking about how they have certain people in the neighborhood who have these different businesses who haven't paid up and they still owe money and they weren't able to get the money. But then when Melissa McCarthy and Tiffany Haddish go to, I think they go to that restaurant that the lady owns, and they're able to kind of use more logic and persuasion to get them to pay up as opposed to...
That's one of the sequences that makes zero sense to me. Yeah. Like that whole first, like literally the first 15 minutes of the movie, you know, the husbands go to jail. They're like, we're gangsters now. And they literally just walk up to every business and go like, hey, I've got a hand. Put money in this. And everybody's like, yeah, sure, that makes a lot of sense.
We should put a button in that because that's going to be on my
But with Melissa McCarthy's character, her being under the delusion that her husband Jimmy would support her, where he can, because they have the contrast of these three relationships, where Tiffany Haddish is in an emotionally abusive relationship, coming into an Irish household where she's not respected being a Black American woman, and so her being like, she's kind of like a subclass of a subclass at that point, and her dealing with that. And then Elizabeth Moss dealing with the physical violence of her husband. And then Melissa McCarthy is in what seems to her to be a functional relationship. But when she finally gets some power, she starts catching on to these microaggressions coming from her seemingly supportive husband. Yeah, her husband was supportive when she was taking care of the kids and cooking dinner at night and being a housekeeper, but all of a sudden, when she wants to be a career woman, granted the career was crime, but he kind of created that environment for her, all of a sudden, he is moving behind her back, undermining her power. I think that there are probably some women who can identify with that as well. I am, of course, fully supported in my work in crime, so thank you, Brad. So I think that there were subject areas worth exploring in this story. Whether they did it effectively, I don't know. Big eye roll over here.
All right. You burned a lot of calories with that one, Lisa.
I hope so, because I am so drunk right now.
Yeah. Brad. All right. The good of the kitchen.
Performance is strong. I liked all I'll just say I like all the actors in it. All three leads, but I like the supporting cast as well.
What about James Badge Dale? He's our friend.
I mean, I love James Badge Dale.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a lot to do in this movie other than be a bad dude, a very two-dimensional bad dude, but he's good in that role. The guy playing the mob boss, Carletti, we've seen him in several things in the past. He's in that Michael Shannon, Jeff Nichols movie. I really, really like him.
He's one of the most sensible mob bosses I've ever seen depicted in
it's absurd.
Bill Camp.
Yeah,
Bill Camp. I think Bill Camp is great in the movie.
I would love to work organized crime for that.
Yeah, especially if you're Greek.
Right?
And like that joke, the Greek joke, I thought was funny. To Lisa's point, I thought that it was speaking to a really interesting idea, and I thought the look of the film, I thought the costume design of the film was really nice. I love the era. I think the soundtrack is great. It made me excited to watch Casino again.
That was the first thing Brad said walking out of the theater. Like, I got to show you Casino. I'm like, I didn't love
Casino.
I didn't love Goodfellas.
Sharon Stone's character in Casino speaks to a lot of what The Kitchen is trying to talk about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. Like, I thought Tiffany Haddish was awesome in the movie. I love Tiffany Haddish. I really, really enjoy watching her. Yeah, the end. Okay, pass.
All right.
The scene where they're cutting up the bodies, Darren.
That scene was great.
Donald Gleason and Elizabeth Moss are going through the soft meat behind the knee.
I got a couple chucks in that
enjoyed that.
scene.
I enjoyed that.
I chuckled.
I will say the good of the film, Melissa McCarthy's performance, Elizabeth Moss' performance.
You did not like Tiffany Haddish.
Donald Gleason's performance, and
what's your beef with Tiffany Haddish?
Bill Camp's
performance. That's my good of the film. All right, the bad.
Cruel.
I'll answer your question in a moment.
Did you watch her with the late night guy? Who am I talking about?
I don't know.
You know.
No.
Talks with the guy. He has a beard now.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
For the record, I love Tiffany Haddish.
Me too.
Not in the kitchen.
Right. Brian, your list seems to be shorter for the bad than the good. All right, so what are your...
So, I mean, really, the thing I suffered the most in this movie was just structurally, this movie to me just doesn't work. Structurally and tonally, I think the movie is kind of all over the place. The pacing to me didn't really allow me to kind of feel that dramatic tension that I felt was needed in this movie. Especially as we get towards the end. I think tonally it is trying to kind of straddle a couple of different genres, which also kind of takes me in and out of the movie as well. I think there are also like some character motivation and choices that seem to just kind of come out of nowhere. That feels like it's kind of contrived specifically just for the narrative and is not character based. Like when they first meet with Coretti, that's when we start to see the transition in Tiffany Haddish's character, Ruby. And to me, it felt contrived because I didn't know where that was coming from as far as like her motivation.
And then at the end of the film, they're trying to sell it like the character of Ruby had been playing all of the Irish gang from the very beginning.
Like, why does this movie have a twist ending?
Why are you Shyamalan-ing me right now?
Yeah, so it's like all these decisions that were made, I guess narratively and character-wise, just really didn't make sense. And the motivation, and even though I love Melissa McCarthy's performance, towards the end when we see her husband Jimmy go behind her back and then she goes over to Brooklyn to have the conversation with Coretti and what she decides like to do, to have her husband killed. I don't know if I bought that. I don't know if I bought that.
I did buy that. What I did not buy is when she was explaining her decision to her father. Because her father is like, I've had a change of heart. Because up to this point, the father has been like, what are you doing, Melissa? I don't remember the character's name. What are you doing, Melissa?
Criminals.
This wasn't what we were meant. Jimmy, like, that was one thing, but now it's you, and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, he's like, you protected your children. That was the right thing to do. I see where you're coming from. And then she's like, I wasn't protecting my children. And he was like, I totally see where you're coming from. I totally approve now.
Like, what you gotta do.
And then at the end, he's carrying a freaking sledgehammer.
He's the first to wield the hammer at the end of the film. And that turn was like, I got a little whiplash from that one.
And
that
that's
was
the thing.
insane.
It's like these motivations are serving more of the narrative than the characters. And I think that you really could have done something special here if you would have gotten deeper into these characters, because they're really great performances, but they just don't go.
There's no logic in this movie.
There's no logic.
It's like a script entirely made of bullet points. Like, okay, we have to get each character to the next scene.
Yeah.
So what do they have to say? What is the least amount they can say to get to the next scene?
The very premise of the movie of them taking over Hell's Kitchen and operating it makes no sense.
It doesn't make no sense. I can see women going like,
no,
I cannot provide for myself.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when they decide to make that decision, it just happens.
Yeah.
They just go to people and they're like, yeah, we like the cut of your jib. Here's the money instead. Maybe you should talk to Jackie. No, don't worry about Jackie. We're going to kill Jackie when he comes to rape Elizabeth Moss. But at no point do they worry about Jackie. Like they make some mention of like, well, he's not going to be happy about it, but they don't plan of what his retaliation is going to be. And then his retaliation is so one-on-one.
Yeah.
And then this magical hitman shows up.
Yeah. Domhnall Gleeson comes out of the blue, out of nowhere. And that's what I was saying, like the pacing of everything, because I had the same issue. Like everything seemed to kind of just happen on the turn, like on the turn of a hat. It's just like, okay, now they're collecting money from all these different businesses.
And then they kill Jackie, and then all Jackie's henchmen side with them.
Yeah, and you feel like Jackie is about to be the big bad that they're going to have, the big adversary that they're going to have to go against. And then, he tries to rape Elizabeth Moss, and then he gets killed.
And then they're like, well, the husbands are going to be out earlier than expected. Oh, no, we better prepare for that. That's going to be in 3 months. Okay. And then like 3 scenes later, it's like, okay, it's going to be in 4 days. We should probably worry about that. And then they're released. And the husbands still don't really like do anything other than be a little upset.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like everything is over. Then there's a character, Coretti's wife, I think played by Annabelle Ciara.
That's her?
She she has nothing to do in this movie. She has like 2 scenes, and they're basically she's like a cheerleader for the 3.
She's
like
the Italian cheerleader.
Yeah, she's like, you go, girl. Like, it's just like, okay. So I don't know, like everything just seems just so jumbled. And to speak to Tiffany Haddish and her performance, to me it just feels like she's doing a lot of posturing, and that I just couldn't really get with it. It didn't feel authentic to me. It felt like she was putting on a performance, especially when we start to see her turn.
Well, I definitely agree with that, but I felt I really liked her going into the movie and going into the scenarios, and I really liked her at the turn when she first got a little bit of power. But once like the whole the downfall starts to happen, I guess.
And it really bothers me because I think that she had a really compelling story.
Absolutely.
With her being married to James Badge Dale, being in the Irish Mafia, the stuff with her mother-in-law, all that stuff just kind of played kind of, hammy.
And
I
to
don't know.
me, like going like, well, she was planning to do this from the time that she married James Badge Dale, I think undermined her entire character arc.
And she kills the mom by throwing her down the stairs, and then James Badge Dale comes out, and then that's never addressed.
Nothing doesn't question her at all about any of that stuff. Yeah.
What happened to mom?
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, again, pacing, structure, there's a lot of things that just really it just felt all over the place. That just didn't really feel like it brought this story together, which I thought, and of course it's similar to, I mean, if you're going to compare it to another movie, Widows is a movie I know I've been hearing it being compared to, which is definitely a better film.
1,000 times better.
And deals with a lot of these things thematically in a much deeper and more resonant way. But this movie, I thought, even with the setting of 1978, could have been that movie that Widows was as well. But it just deals with stuff on the surface level. I don't know. It's just all that stuff just didn't work.
What I was thinking of was David Letterman. Tiffany Haddish talking to David Letterman on the Netflix.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my bad. I'm just going to build off of Brian's point. Not that I want to drive this into the ground, but this makes me curious to read the comic, not for entertainment reasons, but kind of archaeological, like where did this story go wrong reasons? Because to me, like story-wise, if you were to take a fine-tooth comb to this movie and just kind of straighten out those tangles of that narrative, if you go, okay, so there was the one particular business, I think it was like a convenience store or a deli, but they had an issue with teenagers, like they had teenagers stealing ice cream, and then afterwards they came back armed. Like to me, I say, okay, bring Domhnall Gleeson in early. Have the women go to that one business and say, if I take care of these teenagers for you, then you could pay me the way you'd be paying Jimmy. And then, then Domhnall Gleeson would murder those teens.
Jesus.
The money would be passed over, and then they would have a reputation that would justify.
But what was weird about that whole system was we're going to collect the money that Jackie can't get, but we're like the idea originally was like we're going to collect it for Jackie. We came to Jackie because we can collect it that you can't collect it, but then we're not going to tell Jackie about it. And when you don't tell Jackie about it, you've now created a war.
Yeah.
And then nothing happens.
I think what Jimmy was not doing was engaging with the community. Like the Irish were losing the grip on the community. So the reason they weren't getting that money was they were straight up just not going and asking for it. So Melissa McCarthy, being part of the Brennan family, she has some clout, I guess, so they would give it to her. But that's just me guessing.
But that's what I'm saying is, like, when that happens, that is a major attack on an organization, and that organization needs to respond beyond name-calling.
Yeah, I think that, like, to me, they just had to reset their whole flow chart of the order of these things happening.
No, they only needed to think about like a human being. How would a human being react in this scenario? Not how would a movie character react. That's the problem with this movie, is it's a movie.
But they did manage to get two thugs based on family loyalty because of the Brennan family and who Melissa McCarthy was.
Her cousin?
Yeah, if they had played up the Duffy connection a little bit more, then we would understand this schism, because apparently Jackie was not from that original crime family. Jimmy was, but Jimmy went away, so it fell to Jackie. But in that, Jackie was not part of that.
But Jackie was Kevin's brother, James Badge Dale.
Yeah, they were brothers.
They were brothers. So
Yeah, but oh no, never mind. I completely lost it.
yeah, that was his brother. So the business went to him. Okay.
I don't know.
It's garbage.
It's not good.
Nobody was acting like a human. That's the bad.
Yeah.
All right. Brad?
On top of that, do I have anything else that I really wanted to focus on and harp on? I felt like I did before that conversation.
I'm so sorry.
It's not your fault. I mean, there's a lot of bad stuff. Yeah, it looked like garbage. There's like there is some cutaway scenes where they get reaction shots from people who are clearly screened in front of a blue screen.
Oh yeah, that one scene where they come across
the body,
the Hasidic neighborhood.
Yeah. They come across the Jewish guy who's been shot in the forehead, and they cut to the woman with the baby carriage, and she is like shot across from a blue screen background, and it's just like whoa.
Oh man, they look like characters straight from Bob's Burgers.
Jeez. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It was cartoony.
I didn't even notice that. Huh. Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. All right.
So how come you didn't notice the horrible blue screen? Did you fall asleep or something?
No, so an interesting thing happens with the human brain. Like when it's a defense mechanism to protect you when you're witnessing something traumatic. Your brain has a tendency to, depending on the severity of it, to, I guess, protect you from emotional or psychological trauma. You can black out and not, quote unquote, see things. And so I believe that up to that point, my brain had taken all that it could take. So when we got to that eventual moment, it had just like switched off and was like, you know what, D, you don't need to see this shit because you're at the breaking point. That probably would have been the straw that broke my brain camel's back. So I didn't see it. Look, so within the first like 5 minutes of the film, 5-10 minutes of the film, I said to myself, you know what, this movie would probably be better as like a mini series, like a 5 or 10 episode mini series on like Netflix or HBO or something.
Not
like
with
that.
these writers,
because they don't. Like, my first bad is like the pacing of the opening of the film. So, and it goes to what Brian was saying, everything feeling like it was so surface level. I mean, the story is told in like the broadest strokes imaginable, right? So you don't delve into any of the characters. You don't give them time to breathe. That way, their actions and their motivations make sense. And like what you were saying, Brad. So actually, to what all of you were saying. So if time was given, to flesh out these characters and their motivations, then maybe you would have logical extensions of their decisions and their thought processes, feeding into the decisions. But because everything is so rushed, like you say, you get like that whole scene when Melissa McCarthy and Tiffany Haddish are sitting there, and it's that scene from the trailer. Well, maybe we remind them what family is. You can do this. You're the smart one, or whatever. Like that conversation it doesn't feel. The timing of it doesn't feel natural. It just feels like...
It feels snipped out of time.
It feels snipped out. It feels like what Lisa was saying. It just feels like bullet points. I'm going to say these things because these things will take us into the next scene or tie into what we're going to show you next, what these characters are going to do next, instead of like having those points and those themes be embedded into a natural flowing or feeling conversation, right? So, I don't know, like it just felt off to me.
To me, though... There is a subgenre of crime film that is the gangster film that does show the rise and fall of a gangster. We've already talked about Goodfellas. Yeah. There's also Scarface, there's also, I don't know, I haven't seen The Godfather, but also The Godfather over 3 films. Like, it's been done better.
Those films are almost 3 hours long because
this film felt 3 hours long.
But what I'm saying is, but those films excel where this film fails because of exactly that. Like,
but it's not the form that failed because the form has been done well. If you're saying the problem
he's saying the pacing.
No. They don't do what Scarface is a long ass movie. Like, you establish that rise. It's not an immediate rise for Scarface. Within this film, they've risen within like the first 30 minutes or so, right? Yeah. And the same thing with Casino and Goodfellas and
it's rushed,
right? And so I didn't buy any of that because they had established nothing that would lend credence to why they made it to this point or why no one's reacting to a certain action or line of dialogue to me. And like you said, there are just things that are left unanswered. Like, they don't react to the mom being, pushed down the stairs or killed or whatever. Like, I don't know. It just felt like the film was rushed, story-wise, script. And then also, that's another bad, like, the script that's there was poor. And then, like I said, I love Tiffany Haddish as a comedian. I've seen her in other things, like in Girls Trip. She's great in that movie. Like, she's good with she's been better with better material.
I think she's pretty good in this movie.
My issue was also what Brian was saying. It feels like it's a lot of posturing, and I've seen better and more natural feeling performances from her.
I think it's posturing because that's all she has to do.
And that's another problem with the film that goes into the script.
Yeah, I agree with that because again, she has such a compelling story, but they don't go deeper because the conversation that she has with her mother about how she grew up, they really could have taken
And I think that scene's good. I think she's good in that scene.
Exactly, but it's just something about her.
The problem is she's revealed to be a supervillain, and it's absurd. And then once that revelation is happened, like you've learned, like, oh, she's actually a Spider Woman who has manipulated the FBI into orchestrating this entire thing through Common. Yeah, who Common is actually bad in the movie.
Yes,
I like Common, but he's maybe the real poor actor in this film.
He doesn't have much to do.
Once it's revealed that she is like the puppet master, she goes into very much a posturing performance. It is, like a mustache twirling. Not that she has a mustache.
Yeah, but if she did, more power to her.
Yeah. She would twirl it. And then even with the plot line of Elizabeth Moss and Domhnall Gleeson, and when she gets killed, and then they blame Melissa McCarthy, Kathy Brennan character. It's like now you're again. They don't
because of one sentence she said about a cousin.
Yeah, and they don't build that dramatic tension because when we get to that climax when she's about to confront Tiffany Haddish's character at the grocery store and how that all is kind of diffused. And the way Domhnall Gleeson leaves that scene is like, well, I was just here for her. And then he just walks off.
All right, I'm out.
Yeah, and it's just like, you had a chance to really do something that really would have brought some dramatic tension.
Tiffany Haddish should have put a bell on that door because she would have heard the 30 dudes walking in.
All that being said, I did kind of get a little choked up when those two women were walking away through the crowd of Irishmen.
Oh.
I don't know. I was moved.
Yeah. I do like the kind of like that last moment, but I don't know. I thought they could have.
It could have been good.
Yeah. Again, execution just.
All right. So the ugly.
Not much ugly. I guess the way they Domhnall Gleeson explains how to dismember a body.
It's true.
I feel like I learned a lot. Like now between that and the 2 episodes of Breaking Bad I've watched, I'm like 80% positive that in a pinch I could do it.
Ooh.
Oh my God. What else, Brian?
That's about it for my ugly.
Lisa, besides the fun fact that you just learned and I just learned about you.
To me, my ugly is the mourning, the period of sorrow I feel for the movie that this could have been. Because I love crime films. I love boss women. I think they assembled an amazing cast, Common included.
No.
And I think that with less less tweaks than we give them credit, we could have had a good film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that in my heart. And I've felt that about Ocean's 8. I felt that about the all girls Ghostbusters. Like, I feel like the big whiff in those films was not casting women, certainly. The big whiff in that film was the script.
Yeah.
And I just don't know why that's allowed to happen.
I mean, it happens because it happens with so many movies.
Yeah, it just,
if everyone knew how to make a good movie, all the movies would be good.
Yeah.
What gets this amazing cast together is a bunch of artists saying, it's time for this. It's time for a female empowering gangster film. It's time for a female comedy or a female crime film. That is what gets these amazing actors on these projects. And then when the material is less than the performances we're getting, it's so disappointing.
Yeah, and looking at the team behind the camera, I mean, you look at the writers, it looks like they brought in the writers from the actual comic book series. And then
Did they? Or did they, because the director is the third writer on that film.
Yeah, Andrea Berloff.
Andrea So
Berloff.
did she just read the comic and then adapt the comic?
It's interesting because she was nominated for screenwriting for Straight Outta Compton, and I believe this is her directorial debut. And that also excited me too, to see her as a writer, to kind of step into the director's chair as a first time director, to take on a project like this. But I don't know, it just seems she kind of whiffed it.
Ugh. I don't know.
Yeah. Lisa the Ugly.
Oh, that was it.
Oh, Brad the Ugly.
I mean, I feel like this review is pretty ugly. Like, we've been pretty ugly to this review. Do I have anything specific? I mean, I think the ugly is having that twist ending, the Spider-Woman ending, and how that undermines pretty much everything else narratively. Or character-wise, I think that's pretty darn ugly.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think, what do I want to say here? Lisa was really looking for a women's empowerment crime film, and I think you could have made a women's empowerment crime film, but I think the biggest problem out of this movie is just like the script is garbage, and it doesn't matter what it was trying to do. And many people could have done a different film and made a better film. Mm-hmm. I don't know how anyone could have read this script and said, this looks like a thing for me. I want to read the original script. That's what I want to read.
Yeah. It feels like that there was a different cut of this movie.
There could be so much more of this film that has been chopped and rearranged and all kinds of things. It's just such a muddled mess.
But even the words on the page, a lot of the scenes end with conversations that go, I'm feeling this way. Are you feeling this way? Yes, I am too. So the next action we're going to go do is do this. Okay, that sounds great. And then they go do it. Like, that's every scene.
There's a huge lack of subtlety in the movie as well. So I get it. That's it for your ugly?
Yeah.
My ugly is probably my Letterboxd score of the movie.
Whap, whap.
Yeah, but I mean, I just feel like it's deserving. I don't know. This movie had a bunch of issues on all fronts, from the script and, for some characters in my eyes, the performance, the editing, the cinematography was not memorable. And I don't know. Like you say, Lisa, I feel like they could have done something pretty incredible with the cast that they had, with the setting that they had, with the characters that they have in the film, if only they had a better pedigree of writers. So yeah, that's the good, the bad, the ugly for the kitchen.
It's all ugly.
Aw. No, the wrap dress. I'd buy that on ModCloth.
There's the wrap dress. Hit us up on social media and let us know what you thought at ItModcast, ITMODCAST on Twitter, Instagram, and or Facebook.
With like a hourglass shape.
Oh.
And it kind of cinches in the waist.
How is it shaped?
Hourglass.
No, you do the hand thing.
Oh, do the hand thing on the podcast?
Yeah.
I'll do it touching the
just for me.
mic so they can feel it.
Oh.
The hourglass shape.
Yeah. You can
Classic.
hit us up at ItModcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook.
Flattering for every woman.
And Brian. Brian, speaking of which, can be found at the Turtle Dork on Twitter, at the Turtle Dork 1 on Instagram, and at Brian William Young on Facebook. What are you looking forward to this week? The Good Boys?
Probably Good Boys, and no, that's not this week. I was gonna say Angel Has Fallen.
Oh,
Stop.
Guilty pleasure, probably. Maybe it's gonna be bad.
There's no such thing as a guilty pleasure.
You're
Love
right.
what you love.
You're right. You're right. I don't love it, but but no. I don't know, man. I guess Good Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gonna check out?
Oh, and then rewatching Endgame.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that comes out on Blu-ray on Tuesday.
So
I'm really excited to check that out and all the special features. So
You're not gonna check out Wu Assassins? You did the trailer
I
reaction
will.
too?
I will.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'll start it. My expectations are low.
Oh, okay. And Wife Dork, she can be found at Wife Dork and at Sidewalk Siren on Twitter and Instagram. She's also at Bake Dork. Wait, what did I just say?
Yeah, no, you're right.
She's at Bake Dork on Twitter and Instagram. What are you looking forward to this week?
Well, of course, I'm looking forward to August 18th at the
Oh.
Alamo Winchester. Still awesome screening of Blade. We totally planned it with inside info about Marvel dropping the Mahershala
Right.
Ali Blade. Plus, it's Brad's 40th birthday. So there will be, don't tell him, surprise cupcakes he totally
Right.
doesn't already know about. Also, one thing that I really enjoyed in our screening of The Kitchen there were some exciting trailers that we saw for all of these Sundance films that we missed. Some of them we didn't. The Nightingale is now out. If you're ready to have your face dragged through gravel for like
Yeah.
2.5 hours, because it's a
Heard that one's rough.
It's rough. It's rough. Walking out of that Sundance screening, there were literally pale people laying on the ground fanning themselves
Jesus.
from the content of this film. An important film, a rough film.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing.
Yeah, Blinded by the Light is coming out apparently on the 14th.
Yeah, that comes out. Yeah.
The Informer? Wait, what am I talking about?
I don't know.
Yeah, so that's exciting. I also saw a trailer for The Peanut Butter Falcon.
Yep.
Oh my God.
I'm ready for it.
Straight up crying in the theater. My heart is open, Shia LaBeouf. Give it to me.
No.
What?
All right. Mouth Dork can be found at Mouth Dork on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Letterboxd, and Untappd. What are you looking forward to this week, B?
Getting older, I guess.
That's it?
40th birthday. I think it's hitting Brad a little harder than he anticipated.
I felt the same way, man.
B, trust me, it's not bad.
It's not bad over there?
I'm 3 years past you, man. It's A-okay.
I just turned 41, but last year when I hit 40, man, I was feeling the same way.
Why? I don't understand when
I was feeling
that
the
happens to
same way.
people. I really don't.
Both of you guys past 40 have only gotten better looking, stronger,
Thank
more
you.
creative.
That's what happens. So you have that to look forward to.
I should get a top knot.
Yeah.
See? There you go, buddy.
Pull it off, man. You can pull it off.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
I am Darren Smith, the Disco Dork, on all social media, and I am looking forward to my big little brother's 40th birthday. Yeah, man.
Darren got me a card. His
We got
birthday
him
was
jack
last
shit.
year, last week.
Wait till you see this card.
43-year-olds don't get cards.
Matter of fact, open the card right now. I can't wait.
On on-air
Maybe it'll make you feel better.
card unveiling?
Yeah.
I gotta get across from the room.
Plus, I just can't wait till you watch it. Anyway, Brian, again, you failed friending 2 weeks in a row. I asked you what you most forward looking to last week. You were supposed to say my birthday. You failed.
Stop.
I asked you this week what you're looking forward to. You're supposed to say B's birthday. You failed.
Yeah,
All right, I'm opening it up.
But Brian is living in the moment. It's hard for him to anticipate the future. Ooh.
It's a Black Panther card. Oh, it's a pop-up Black. Damn.
Oh, shit.
Oh, and then you pull the little tab. Oh, what's on the little tab? Oh, wishing you the happiest big little brother. Happy 40th. I love you 3,000. I love you 3,000 disco. Is there a gift card in here or something?
Only child. Don't listen to him.
Wouldn't fit.
Damn, that's awesome.
That's cool.
I'll post that on Twitter and Instagram.
Look at it from this angle.
That's a really cool
Yum.
Cool, right?
Stop looking at T'Challa's ass, Lisa.
Oh, sorry.
So there's this company. It was on my Facebook timeline, and they sell Marvel pop-up. They have one with Iron Man, and so I went to their website and I saw that one, and I was like, oh, I gotta
That's
get
awesome.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah.
Damn, I like.
Yeah, that's a serious pop-up. That's not like a normal pop-up.
Right. It's pretty cool. Wow. So yeah.
Swank card.
Happy early birthday, B.
Thanks, Darren.
That's gonna do it for us.
I'm not gonna die.
No, man.
Okay.
It's gonna be great. You'll see. Enjoy the rest of your week, ladies and gentlemen. If you have not gotten your tickets yet, please do so. They are still on sale at the Alamo Draft House in Winchester. Come on out and enjoy a screening of Wesley Snipes, his rendition of Blade.
But whatever you do, if you're traveling to the Alamo Winchester on the 18th, don't ice skate uphill.
Yeah, that is ill-advised. That's going to do it for us. Thank you all for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week. And until next time.